All right, what's going on, guys? Thanks for joining me. Podcaster Curtis Mack. Have a bunch of guests recently. Had photographers, models, and a new artist I've been working with. His name is Caleb Estey, but I'm going to let him do some talking about himself. So,
My name is Caleb Estey. I'm a musician, an artist. I play as many things as I possibly can with as many people as I possibly can.
so when you say like music and artists and stuff like that, you mean like what type of genre of music?
Really, I haven't bottled myself into any specific genre
Okay.
yet, and I think I'm going to keep that open as much as possible. But the best thing that I could use to describe what I do is whatever it is, it has to be genuine.
Had a good job.
I lost it.
Made good money.
I lost it.
Had a lot of friends.
I lost it.
So I used to be funny.
I lost it.
Used to be
I
cool.
lost it.
I used to be strong. Used to have
I
you,
lost
but
it.
then I waited too long.
I lost it. I lost it.
Waited for your calling out.
This is a different world that we're in, so I have been trying a few things differently to try filling the void that's usually left by someone who is just a one color. Trying to bring as many different things from my palette to the forefront as possible.
So my new backdrop fits your genre of music.
It really does. This
Look at
whole
that.
thing. There's as many colors in here as there are ideas flying through my head.
And you know who inspired this? An artist I work with, Bessis. Big shout out to Bessis because he's like, that's what's in. It's like that Starburst, Skittles, TikTok-y, type of genre, type of vibe. So, how long have you been doing this?
Oh man, I've been playing music in a professional capacity, performing in front of people for about 19 years, 20
Wow.
years. So and I'm 34, just turned 34. So there's a considerable amount of time that I spent on stage when I was about 12, 13.
And how'd you get started when you were like 12, 13? How did that happen?
Actually, by bass, playing bass, guitar, bass, singing a little tiny bit, but then moving on into drums out of necessity.
Now I know I've worked with parts of your family before, and everybody's kind of involved in show business or media, right? Like I know that your mom does broadcasting, and then your father's into the piano world, right? And I think your brother a little bit too.
Yeah, my brother is a great player.
Okay.
He sits down to a piano, and you would be so surprised at some of the stuff that he plays. My sister is a phenomenal singer. My mom is the same way. She's also an amazing artist. In fact, my sister and my mother are both phenomenal artists. My father can play, man, any song that you give him, he'll listen to it, learn it by ear, and then play it for you in his own format and try and get the lead at the same time. Very, very diverse kind of mix of people.
Excellent. So there was plenty of inspiration. Now, as far as superstars and like household names, was there anybody that like came to like mind when it's like inspiration? When you're 12, 13 years old, who were you listening to? What was the vibe?
I know that doo-wop, a lot of soul from my cousin Jason, and man, the mix of Beatles, Everly Brothers, the list is crazy huge, but essentially as many feel good songs as I could possibly get my hands on when I was a kid. This is when my parents saw me dancing and saw me doing something for an extended period of time, and they're like, what is that? What's that music that they like? All right, let's keep on giving him that.
So why is that important to you, Caleb? Like doing that type of stuff, that type of good vibe, good feel stuff, the art.
Because there's not much else in this world besides the expression of self and the exploration of self. In fact, the motivation behind people's progress can be skewed by a lot of outside influence, when in reality we are looking at the progression of self.
Yeah, a lot of people look for like validation or worth through the internet when really you just should compete with yourself, keep to yourself. You know, you can have a network of people, social and professional and things like that. But
Right.
when it comes to success, you know, they say it's staying on course to your desired outcomes and experiences, gaining happiness, wisdom, and self worth along the way. So
Right.
as long as you find yourself doing that, then
Right.
you know,
It's
more,
the same
more
way.
power to you.
It's the same way as when you actually have a song idea and it's about going to Morocco, right? You have no context for that. You're not writing from experience, and it's something there. It's the same exact thing that we need to concentrate on when we're putting our actions out there as well. That genuine focus. It's not something to do because we should or we could. It's a deeper meaning there, and that exploration often helps us find out more about ourselves just because that's along the same path.
Word. So, what organization are you with? Do you have like a brand, a label, a studio that you work with constantly?
There's a few people that I've been working with pretty consistently.
Shout them out.
Yeah, C. Lansbaum, always going up there to Pomona at Sherwood Ridge Studios. He's amazing. He gets some of my favorite drum sounds.
Word.
Let's see, Ponderosa Studio, which is right over in Lafayette, amazing place. Mixolydian Studio, that's right over in Delaware Water Gap. With Don, he's an amazing guy. Always gets us. Always seems to get us work.
Donnie G.
Donnie
G.
But yeah, then the list of DIY studios that are up and coming. LBM Audio. Pete Lister Productions, which I think he's going through some changes. I think he might call it Ace, acclaimed custom entertainment.
Rebrand. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have something in mind when you're creating music? I know, like, you know, there's a question of who listens to my music, who am I thinking about when I'm making the music? Does anybody come to mind?
I would hope that the people listening are listening for something more than just listening.
So when you write your music, are you telling a story, or are you just putting out your feelings at the time? Like, what's going on?
Yes, actually,
He says yes.
to quote a friend, yes. To quote a friend, I am
Shout out
ignoring,
Dr. Pepper, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Pepper. We don't drink enough Dr. Pepper.
We don't
these
drink
days.
enough. We have so many.
Was it 23 ingredients in the Dr.
Yeah,
Pepper? No.
and there's probably 23 ingredients in your music. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. You like that? Go ahead.
That's good. So the way that my friend Shlomo Franklin, another brilliant artist that I've been working with, the way that he described my music is, you are ignoring the most polite parts of yourself in the most beautiful way, bringing them to the surface, and that's kind of a big part of it.
Whoa!
I really want to do that as much as possible because it's a thing that Neil Young did. It's a thing that David Bowie did. It's a thing that artists do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to filter yourself and to put yourself in a bottle and say that I need to express such and such style of music and impress such and such demographic of people. It's almost like, why am I even making music if it's not just purely for the expression itself?
Yeah, word.
You know, the commercial value, the monetary value of something like this should not be held higher than the value of the expression itself.
Yeah, and truth outweighs creative every time. You know,
Absolutely.
I tell people, as long as you have a truthful message, I don't care if it has a $10 video behind it, you know,
Right.
versus a $10,000 video. If your message is there and the truth is there, like, you know, it's not necessarily about having a better mousetrap. When you're an artist, you're just creating because it's part of the game. It's part of what you do. And sometimes people ask you, well, where are you in your work? When's the next this? What's your next project? When's the next presentation? When's the next expedition? Or when's the next? Sometimes you create a whole project in one night, and sometimes you won't create a whole project for 6 months, or it might take 5 years, right?
Right.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how, like, projects and why they take so long, or why sometimes they're just done in an hour. Do you come across situations like that?
Yes, absolutely. There are ideas that involve more fuel than others.
Yeah.
And that's just a general rule of thumb.
And framework.
Right. So the simpler the idea, generally when I come to a band with 4 chords or even 3 chords, I mean, there's a few tunes that I have where I've come up to the guys like, all right, let's go let's go out. Let's go so far out. Let's go Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. Let's go, in a silent way. Let's go really crazy with playing some abstract notes and find something there that fits, because we need fuel for something that's a little bit more of a simple nature.
Yeah.
When there's a complexity to the structure of the song, or even the vision of the song, generally speaking, there's a bit more of a blueprint. So how people come to those endpoints, those goals, it really depends on their personality style. I know that I could hear a guitar solo over an idea that I've been working on for a year or a few months, and hear that guitar solo, and it's like, no matter what you're going to play over it, I'm going to be like, wow, that's amazing.
So sometimes you just hear that, and the message just comes with it, and that can carry its own weight,
Right.
just without any lyrics on the music.
Yeah, and the like I said, the path in which you take to get there depends greatly on the mediums that you're using. If you're a digital player, if you're analog player, whatever it may be. I know that it takes a bit from me, but I've been finding avenues to circumvent a lot of the delay that it needs,
Yes.
and trying to get these things out onto a drawing board that other musicians that I trust can come in and say, here's some fuel for this. I think I have a little bit of fuel that I could spare for this part.
It's
and this
like
part.
you're coming, but what are you bringing?
Right.
Yeah.
And a big part of the working environment is who you trust,
Yeah.
and how much trust you put in them.
And the synergy you guys can create when you work together.
Right.
That's
Right.
huge. It's like, one person can do three person's jobs, right? But like 3 people can do like 10 people's jobs,
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and it's amazing what you guys can create. So what have you created? What accomplishments have you done so far since 1980, 1990, whatever? Let's start, like, goals, plaques, stuff like that, or maybe EPs or mixtapes, or whatever you do that you've archived. What have you accomplished so far, Caleb?
Well, there's been quite a bit. There's been a lot of recording projects that I've done with artists across the board: folk, country, pop. There was even a stint that I had with a rock band where we opened up for the Guess Who. I was with this band called the Holy Goats. They may even be around still. I'm not sure, but they that was a huge thing for me, because that was a big chunk of fuel for my fire.
100%.
And then moving forward from that, the endless tours and meeting different artists across the board.
What cities have you visited?
The cities, man.
Yeah, roll them off.
all the way over to California. I mean, it's been, I think, Arizona, Colorado. We missed that one. There's a decent amount in the Midwest that we had missed, but for the most part, I mean, like, up and down, Pennsylvania, Florida, a lot of time spent in Georgia.
So like different cities within multiple states.
Oh yeah.
So you really did the tour life thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What was this, in the 90s, early 2000s? Or?
This was early 2000, and leading all the way up until 2000, I think 2010 or 2008, 2010. That was probably my last little stint of a good tour.
What was your biggest memory from tour life? Like the most memorable moment.
Oh, that's tough. That's really, really tough. I think one of the greatest parts was going on this amazing epic journey with 2 bands that I was involved with, 2 of which they were like my favorite projects to play in, and one of which I actually was able to write words, sing lead for a few songs, and write melodies, things like that. But we did a double band tour, and we traveled in one van and one little sedan, and that was the coolest thing. We went on a ferry across Lake Champlain, all sorts of different cool little adventures, and up by Vermont, New York, and
Sometimes it's more about the journey than it is the end goal, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the people that we were meeting along the way, you know, we'd
Any
get to
big
the
names?
show. They not a lot of big names. For me, the bigger names that I've played have actually been somewhat recently. Working with Steve Forbert. I've been playing with him now for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
So when you were on tour, it was more the back end people that you don't really know about, but really made all the things happen. I'm
Exactly,
sure.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And then eventually, kind of, sharpening my tools to get to a point where I impressed Joe Cerati enough for him to recommend me to Jesse Bardwell, who played with Quimby Mountain Band.
Big ups.
Yeah, big ups, both of those guys, and they put me in touch with Steve. They got me in touch with Steve. Jesse got me like the audition, and
Nice.
I actually, funny story about that.
Let's hit it.
I could not. Oh my God, I couldn't do the audition, but it was because I had an album release show with a good friend of mine who had been working on this album for a long time, and I was very, very proud of the music. And I invited Steve and Jesse out to the show. They couldn't make it, but Jesse asked me to send him, send me a video of this guy that you're talking about that you got to do. I'm like, oh, thank God I have a video of this guy, because it's a really great video on Vimeo that was taken at my father's piano shop, and it's me on drums, my friend on kora, which is an African harp, and a cello player named Brian Wilson, and it's some of the best footage. But I was able to show them that as my audition.
Nice.
essentially.
Oh, that's great.
I
Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah,
Isn't it
couldn't
great to be
believe it.
busy?
It really is. It
Because
really,
that's
really is.
what my dad always said. Shout out to my dad. He says, who do they go to get the job done? The busiest guy usually, because it's like he makes time. That's what you do. You make time, and if you are busy, you stick to your guns, and you say that I have prior obligations on that set date at that set time. If we can re-coordinate somehow, reschedule, I'd be more than happy to. If not, can we work something out? Which what you did. So that's you being a businessman too.
Yeah, it's really been a
You have to be stern,
difficult,
though, with your own schedule, with your life.
Yeah, it's been a little bit difficult with
to the management, people that want to work with you. So what are your overall goals? Like, you've done a lot, so what's your overall goals, maybe short and long?
Well, I'd like to keep it pretty simple, one foot in front of the other kind of a thing. Generally work a little bit better. So far, playing in front of 5,000 people, that was a big goal.
And you accomplished that.
Yeah, getting in with
was that live or
that was
virtual?
live. Yeah,
oh, great.
That was live. That was done over at with Steve Forbert over at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass.
Shout out Bluegrass.
Yeah, and that's in San Francisco, over in Golden Gate Park. Beautiful setting. But
I've never been to Cali.
Oh my goodness!
I was supposed to go with a family member and just didn't go. I think I just need to hit it and just go.
Yep, just hit it. And when you say Cali too, realize that there's like many versions of Cali, so you might not hit all of them. Northern Cali is a whole different thing, and I highly recommend it. Anybody?
Northern California.
Shout out to Northern Cali. Shout out to Huntington Beach as well, which is SoCal.
And shout out Paul Walker, because he loved North Cal. R.I.P.
But yeah, it's a very very interesting place. But anyway, the 5,000 people, getting in with award-winning artists. C. Lansbaum, who has the studio up in Sherwood Ridge, Pomona, he is part of the same crew that did the Seeger sessions, and he won a Grammy for it. He also played on the Seeger sessions, but they didn't give him a Grammy.
So
for
is that a goal for you at one point, a Grammy, or to like be on national TV? Like, what's the end goal here, Caleb?
My end goal is to make my meaning work and my work meaningful, because that's really my only truest form of success that I could see. If I strive for something that is a piece of somebody else's puzzle, then it's not genuine. So the only thing that I can do right now is strive for that meaning to come through in what I am doing, and allow this to be shown to people in a genuine way. If I could say that in 10 years I want to be a Grammy nominee, that would be amazing. But I'm sure that none of these guys, one of my inspirations, Mark Juliana, an amazing, phenomenal drummer. He was Grammy nominated for Best Contemporary Instrumental, and for his original music.
And you have original music, and you play. And what instruments do you play to create your original music?
Everything. Mostly the things that I like to do is create by myself with my own means to get that genuine expression out. Then from there, I have trusted musicians that I call, and whether or not they're available, we go through different lineups for different shows. Sometimes.
So do you mix analog and digital?
I have been doing a lot more of that now, more than ever now, because there's a lot of things that have been catching my ear in the sonic world of digital, and even the analog synth sounds, the very, very old analog synth sounds,
Which brings me to my next question, which is like your latest project, because I know I've seen your marketing getting up to par with all your social media and whatnot, which is good. And I see you do Collab Lab.
Clap Lab. Just another day. We have Mr. Amalgamy on the show with us.
So is that kind of your latest thing right now? That's your little baby right now that you're nurturing?
That's exactly it. Actually, that's the perfect way to put it. It's my little baby, and right now it is exactly that. It's in its adolescence. I have been doing it. The whole thing was spurred pretty much from getting a
Collab Lab.
a burst of this get up and go. I don't have anybody around me right now, but I should play some music.
Correct. Create.
And playing music with a loop pedal, it's cool. Playing music with backing tracks happening and I'm playing drums, that's cool. But realizing that there was a way, with the help of a good friend of mine, shout out to Booyah Amps, Jamie Simpson, and we went through this very cool experimentation of putting drums as the sound source for a vocoder. So that kind of got me into thinking, okay, I can have a keyboard off to the side and play that with my right hand and just play some drum beats, very simple drum beats with my left hand.
While the screen's up and all that.
While the screen's up, and everybody's going and everybody's chatting and I'm chatting along with them. But lately I've been getting enough to do comfortable enough with this to actually start singing. So that's the evolution of it.
Wow.
And eventually there will be whole shows that are designed around exactly that.
It's like a Kanye West situation almost, like with lights. It's like almost 4D in a way, right? Like there's lights, vibrations, and water sprays, and like there's dancing and there's people. It's just a whole experience, and that's what music is, an experience.
Yes. I want to create that essentially with one human being.
Wow.
And then have this one human being, myself, a puzzle piece to fit into anything. But Collab Lab is essentially, now it's a puzzle piece that I could form into anything that I want to fit around whoever else is coming.
It's yours.
Yeah.
And you know what you're doing at the end of the day with your content. So if somebody else comes along and has some gas for the fire,
right,
you can put it in, or you can, just sidestep a little bit to take some time and help them out, or do whatever you got to do. But it happens. You know it's going to happen because you're going to make it happen.
Yes, exactly. And there's a big part of Collab Lab that tries to promote the individuals that I have on the
artists,
show.
Professional artists,
exactly, yeah,
well-known names, all that kind of stuff.
Even friends that are just throwing in music for me to play over, that just record on their off time. They're not serious musicians, but they express, and I love that. I love that about my friends. There's so many of them out there.
And there's so many people out there with commercial interests that are, let's say, interested or like love to invest in sponsoring indie artists and content like that. So if you're interested in stuff like that, maybe contact Caleb if you're looking to, help out an artist. If you own a guitar shop or a drum studio or XYZ and you want your name mentioned, I'm sure that can happen. I'm sure you can work something out in a way,
Absolutely.
I think you should, this is just my suggestion, get some LED drumsticks.
Oh man,
How cool would that be?
I have been with the same guy, Jamie Simpson. We have been going through just real rough because right now, times are a little bit
Aesthetics are
times a little
important
tough,
right now, though.
but
Aesthetics are important right
They
now,
are, and
as
it's
you mentioned in here.
yeah, and it's a big push to get this done too. Trust me, but I really want to have a dynamically sensitive sound, sound sensitive LED rings that are right underneath the actual drum head. So when you hit the drum head, the harder you hit it, the more white the light becomes.
It's like seeing sound.
Exactly. So the dynamics would have a lot to do with like the hue of the color being put through, but it would fade through the entire color spectrum until the very loudest notes that I'd be playing would have.
And you have an engineer
white.
that can help you with that?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's a matter of programming some Raspberry Pis and getting this whole thing to work. But the real trick there is I would have to pull the trigger on doing it to one of my favorite drum sets because it really would look great.
So with that being said, somebody may want to donate a drum set.
Maybe
if you want to donate,
set.
if you see this and he hasn't done it by now, contact Caleb. If you have a nice drum set you would like to see LED'd up and all that,
That's right.
And he slapped the logo and all that. I'm sure on the Collab Lab. How can they see the Collab Lab and how often? Where can they see it? All that.
Well, that's a really great part that I've set up, trying to be as consistent as possible with this weekly show.
Nice.
Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. on Twitch. And what I've been doing with it lately, more than ever, shout out to Twitch.
They give so many artists opportunity.
It's amazing. And it's so much fun for the viewer as well, because you're not just sitting there watching this static screen and kind of typing to everybody else. And people on Facebook, there's not really that much of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much for us as artists to give you. It really has an effect on the demographic, I think, to try and just put out that large net and see what I'm actually coming out with. I'm trying my best to kind of branch out with, like you said, visuals and just general flow of the show.
And that's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
6 to 8?
6 to 8 p.m. on Twitch.
Nice.
Twitch.tv/CollabLab.
And they can get all the behind the scenes stuff, I'm sure, on your Instagram, Facebook.
Oh yeah.
I know you have TikTok, so that's cool. You put
Yep.
some snippets of what's going on up there. So, any last thoughts?
Oh, I mean, other than if you're a musician, if you're someone who has content that you thought to yourself, I would love to hear a drummer or a drummer's perspective or some kind of rhythmic life being breathed into this.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that it's hard to get together with your bandmates and
Especially with
record
COVID.
these things. Exactly. So it's important to say this to as many people as possible. I would love to extend that hand to anybody who maybe they have digital drums there and they want to get rid of those digital drums. Send the track over. Let me know the BPM if you've done it to a click, and we've got ourselves a nice little segment on the show that I can then promote your band, your project, your content, and who you are, because there needs to be more attention brought to the arts now more than ever.
C.Estey on Instagram if you want to get with it. That's awesome. CurtisMack.com if you're interested in getting in the studio. Caleb will co-sign it. We work together. We do some marketing work together, right?
That's right.
How do you like that stuff? That this is kind of just off,
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging how inspired I am to be consistent with it, and there is a considerable amount of response that I've seen already.
Mm-hmm. Just through our optimization and creation process.
Yes.
The first step of my 3-step process.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like I said, I can't stress this enough. Like what it puts inside of myself to drive more progress in that regard. Just having that one positive thought, just having that one little inkling of like, oh, I kind of got this under control now. Like,
exactly.
this isn't just a weird brick that's controlling my life and
Yeah.
soul sucking. It's like, no, this is going to work for me as a tool.
Correct.
It alleviates all this kind of stress, and it makes you want to do it just that much more.
Everybody can utilize a marketing strategy if they're an artist or if they're an entrepreneur. You know, it's like a marketing strategy for yourself because you are the CEO of you. You know,
Right.
Shout out to Nancy, somebody that told me that. So, CurtisMack.com, Caleb Estey, ClabLab, C.Estey. Hit them up. Any type of music that you would like to get, maybe some rhythmic, association with, or if you want to just collab with him at the ClabLab, contact him. Thanks for listening, y'all.